And we're live, streaming to you from the footsteps of New York City. We are Music Matters with Jason Tramm, and thank you so much for joining us for our unique podcast community, where we explore the triumphs and challenges of the performing arts world as seen through the eyes of distinguished and exciting artists. Thank you so much for helping us grow. We hit 1,810 subscribers today, and we grow every day thanks to people like you. So please subscribe to us on YouTube and smash that bell icon for the most up-to-date information on our upcoming guests and topics. And we have got some great ones coming up. To see our over 250 past episodes, check out our website at www.jasontram.net. Again, that's www.jasontram with two M's.net. And today we have a wonderful artist, a indie pop artist who just released her first single, and it's getting a lot of airplay, and it's a really great kind of dark and gritty song. We have Kel Adore, who is a model and a pop artist and is really into the songwriting part of it, and she's got a lot of exciting projects coming out we're going to talk about. And welcome, Kel.
Hello, thank you so much for having me. Really appreciate it.
Really a pleasure. And how are things on the left coast today?
Oh, it's actually a little bit windy and not the bright, beautiful, sunny day that I'm used to, but I will take it. It's a good day.
Beautiful. So it was kind of rainy in New York all day in the 50s, and kind of like, but it's one of those kind of April, everything rains all the time, so that the spring is gorgeous here when all the leaves come back.
Yeah, I feel like this time of year, no one really knows what the weather's doing.
Now, you're based in LA. Are you originally from LA?
I actually grew up all around Colorado, so grew up kind of moving around the Rocky Mountains, but Denver's really home for me. So definitely used to the, snowy winters and unpredictable springs, and now I'm in Southern California and just enjoying the sunshine.
Wonderful. And for what you're doing now, you could not be in a more exciting place for the modeling, for the acting, for the modeling, for the music, and all the things you're producing now. It's the center of the creative world, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, even just, I moved here last fall, so I haven't been here very long. And even in just that short amount of time, the people I have met, the energy here is so palpable. It's such a fun place to be.
Fantastic. So did you always know you wanted to be an artist?
When I was younger, I definitely was that kid that saw myself being a star, doing all of the things, singing. But as I kind of got older, I also had this deep interest in business and kind of the more traditional route in life. So there was a time I kind of stepped away and I got my degree in economics and started working in, a normal job, I guess you could say. But after some time, that music kept kind of pinging me and hitting me and coming back, and I could not shake the feeling like, okay, I've got to do something about this.
Well, it's the time to strike when that music never goes away. And I love to tell the stories of some of the great composers whose parents wanted them to be doctors and lawyers. I mean, some of the most famous, like Tchaikovsky's father wanted to be a lawyer. And anyway, they just couldn't do it. It's just like the music was too powerful a pull, and it just kind of drags you in. And that's, thankfully for all of us, that's what where would we be without the artists in our life?
Oh, absolutely. I think art plays a really fundamental role in everybody's life, and sometimes it's overlooked as a legitimate practical career, but it really is possible. And I think it's more about just gaining that knowledge and understanding how to do it, and it's very, very likely you can incorporate it into your life if you just take small steps to do it.
So when was your first performance you can remember? When did you start singing? Tell us about were your parents musical?
So my mom was a majorette twirler. So she was a performer, she would twirl the fire batons, and, she won all these awards for it. She was incredible. I can never live up to her legacy. But, I think that, performance-ness kind of seeped into me. My dad, he just would play country music, nothing crazy there. But for me, I grew up singing with my sister, actually. I'm the youngest of 5 kids.
Wow.
If you believe it. And my next oldest sister and I, we were a year and a half apart, or are a year and a half apart. So we just grew up singing together, and that could range from, little performances that we'd put on for our family, just, Spice Girls or whatever it was. And it also then, kind of evolved into recitals and class performances. And a lot of those were with my sister kind of at my side.
Nothing like performing with your family. It's a built-in ensemble.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, our voices blended really well. We understood each other. It was so much fun.
Did you study any instruments when you were young?
Not professionally. I did take up guitar a little bit later in high school. I think I really just started songwriting when I was really young. Took a little bit of piano, but was just songwriting, songwriting, songwriting. And then I had a vocal coach who was like, you really need to get into instruments and guitar specifically. So then I, picked up the guitar and I just watched a bunch of YouTube tutorials and kind of, self-taught and evolved. And now I wouldn't say I'm a master by any means, but I play well enough to, accompany myself or write my own songs. And that's kind of the journey that went.
Fantastic. We have a lifetime to keep on working and to keep on growing with it. And there's nothing like, seeing singer-songwriters on the stage, just them and the guitar. And you can do you perform live a lot? Do you get to perform your songs live?
I haven't recently due to COVID. I think a lot of performances have been canceled. I've done some weddings and stuff like that here and there, but I'm really excited because as I have new music coming out, I'm really starting to focus on those live shows again. So, hopefully this summer there will be a lot more of that action happening again.
So tell us about your single that just dropped. It dropped not too long ago.
Yeah, so Fool for the Pain is my debut single. It's kind of an interesting story how it came to fruition because I had started working, more seriously on music and was putting together these really bad demos, really not high quality songs. I mean, you got to go through those iterations. But then I had this song and the timing worked out where I met my current producer and I sent this voice memo to him of just like one small clip. And he was like, we've got to work on that one. Like that one is it. And it was, I think just the first couple verses where it's hat on, eyes down, and a little bit of blood on her blue nightgown. That's the lyrics. And we just knew like it had to be epic. So we started working on it and it finally was just the quality that I needed and that I was ready to release it. So we put it out and here we are.
And what's it like to see a song you wrote and you came up with and had been developed and it went through all that process, go to the studio and then all of a sudden be dropped into the world where it's got a life of its own, where you put it on the different platforms and people see it all over the world. What's it like to get that?
Oh, it's really gratifying. It's really fulfilling, from literally writing songs from as early as I can remember in my bedroom or on the sidewalk to being like, wow, this is out for the world to see. And, I have fans all over the world that will message me and tell me they listened to it. I'm like, that is so nice. They took the time to listen and send a message. And I'm just really proud. I'm really proud of it and just happy that I can share it with people and hopefully it helps connect with them.
What I love about music is that we all form our universal kind of individual story about the songs. We take whatever the lyrics are and we kind of apply them to our own lives. Do you want to give us a little bit of what the lyrics are about, or is it a mystery?
It's about a lot of things. I actually had some friends ask me, they were texting me like, what is the blood on the nightgown? Like, tell me what this
means. That's a great first line. And it grabbed my attention too. I'm like, whoa, this is something interesting and deep.
Yeah, I mean, I love that it is just like you said, you can apply it in so many different ways. And they were kind of mad at me because I couldn't give them a straight answer. I read a book, The Girl on the Train, if you've heard of it.
Oh, I love that book, yeah.
That kind of mood really inspired me. I also have some experiences with, family members or friends close to me that have gone through some things that I kind of channel. So I wouldn't say there's necessarily one thing for one song. It's a mix of a lot of things. But I love keeping that mystery because it really helps people go, how does this apply to me? How does this help me? What does this make me think about for my life? And that's the point. I don't want people thinking about my stories. I want them thinking about their own.
Good point. And that's what makes music so enduring, whether it be classical or contemporary, is universal human storytelling that applies to all of us. These emotions, we can all kind of find that in ourselves. And I'm always interested when singers are writing. When you write, do the melodies come first or the lyrics come first, or does it change based on the song?
Yeah, it kind of changes. Have you heard of Splice.com? Do you know the tool Splice?
Sure.
It's just, so for people who don't know, it's a repository of different like samples and sounds and production things. Maybe you could explain it better than I could.
Like a production library.
Yeah, there you go. So I just, a lot of times lately will kind of go through and just find sounds that inspire me or loops that inspire me. And then I might start kind of humming on top of it. So maybe melody does come first, but the mood and everything, like I kind of just start improvising. And then really that initial moment of inspiration, I think can often be really compelling.
Absolutely, and when you find a hook or when you grab them with a lyric like you did, it really makes for a powerful song. Now there's a certain amount of grittiness in that song, maybe a darkness, and you mentioned gothic. I like that. You seem like a really cheerful person. I love how that. I love when you meet the artist. It's always so different than when you listen to the art. It's always kind of interesting.
Yeah, I've had people say like, how did you write this? Or like, they meet me and they're like, you're so bubbly and smiley, what is this? But I think that's what's so beautiful about the human experience is we are complex individuals and we have the full range of human emotions. And I love that this song is taking you deeper under the surface. And that's really what I want to do with my music is be like, hey, I'm Kel, this is me, and come on this journey with me. Like let's connect together and on a really deep level, not just on the surface.
Very nice. So much pop music can be so superficial, and it's and it's okay. And there's definitely a space for that. We all need that kind of just music that's fun and we can bop around to. I have 4 kids, and 2 are 19. They love to bop around to music, and they call it what do they call it? A bop, I guess. I hear that. It always makes me laugh, and I get that. We all need that in our lives. We all need music that's kind of fun. But man, I always gravitate towards the music with a little more depth.
I appreciate that as well. And John Bellion, who's one of my huge inspirations, he's so raw and authentic. One thing, I'll steal this from him. He kind of gave this analogy about having a dinner party. And some people, when they invite people over, it's because they want to just entertain. They want to be a great host or hostess and just throw a wonderful, entertaining party. But he said for him, when he throws a dinner party, he wants to feed his guests. He wants to bring them to the table and get food in their belly and really just connect. And then he applied that to his approach with music, where he's like, yes, there is a place to entertain and to have music that's fun and like a bop, like you said. But there's also music that feeds your soul. And so I've kind of like stolen that from him in my mantra now of like, is this feeding the soul? Is this like something that someone can learn and reflect on their own life and on themselves and their humanity and their spirituality and their relationships? And can they take this and learn something from it? And that's my goal, at least right now. Maybe I'll write a bop another day.
I'm sure. That's the thing about being an artist. You have so much, so many different facets of your personality, both artistically and emotionally. And I guess we're always exploring that too. I mean, I'm 47 and I do a lot of different types of music, and I just love that kind of working with different artists and making music happen in different ways. And we never define ourselves by one thing, otherwise it gets stuck.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
So who are some of your idols growing up, and who are some of your musical inspirations?
So you heard me talk about John Bellion. Love him. In that same vein, I would place maybe Julia Michaels. She's an incredible songwriter and very authentic. I was actually I had a dream last night that I met Katy Perry. So this is kind of funny, but it made me think, oh my gosh, like Katy Perry has also really inspired me. She's very pop, very entertaining, but also if you listen to the lyrics of her music, it can be very deep. So, I mean, the list goes on, but I would say those are some immediate people that come to mind in terms of musical idols.
We have a question from the audience. Thank you to April from Georgia, who asks, if you could do a duet with anyone who's not living right now, who would it be?
Ooh, okay. Oh my gosh. That is a good one. Thank you for asking that question, April. Okay, this might be a weird answer and kind of a nerdy answer. And I don't even know if he sang, but Alexander Hamilton.
Okay, you go historical figure. Nice.
He was such a good writer. I mean, and you get this through Lin-Manuel Miranda's interpretation through Hamilton, but he was a person who wrote nonstop and was just so kind of obsessed with leaving a legacy and with improvement and progression. And I don't know if I could do a duet and he would sing with me, but I would love to write with Alexander Hamilton.
Well, if Lin-Manuel Miranda was involved, it would be a rap / singing. That'd be a pretty cool concert.
Oh, yeah, I can't rap, but if Lin would perform with me, I would do it.
I'm in the process of producing with I'm the music director of an opera company. They're doing In the Heights. So it's kind of a real off. We just did La Boheme, and we're also doing In the Heights in the summer. And it's such a cool, I love finding synchronicities, and I think it's pretty cool. And way to go to pick a historical figure. I would know you're the first to do that, by the way. Everyone's like Johnny Cash or Elvis Presley or whatever it may be.
I wouldn't be opposed to them either, but that, Alexander Hamilton, he's my boy.
There's a great book. I forget the author. I have a 1,000-page book on him, and what a fascinating figure he is.
Yeah, absolutely.
From
I
the
think I have that
duel
same
and
book.
Yeah, it's like the Bible on him, and I'm like, I went to see Hamilton the musical, and to read that book, I'm like, this guy's fascinating. He was born in interesting circumstances, and just the life he led was so colorful and interesting.
Yeah, and I think, again, it's just kind of a story about the human triumph and what people go through and the ups and the downs and the conflict and the resolution. And it's a really interesting, his life is an interesting look at those things.
So take us through the process with your first single, with Fool for the Pain. And, I'm always fascinated by when you take material and you bring it to a producer and then it gets into the studio, things change. There's always this kind of fluidity back and forth, and the final product usually is very different than where it started. What's that process? What was that process like for you?
Yeah, so working with my producer, his name's Brett Pemberton. He's also my co-write, so we do a lot of joint writing together. And it was really good for me because Brett and I have a really good musical connection where we just kind of are on the same page and just kind of are able to talk through things very honestly and transparently. So he's really good at giving me feedback, which was kind of a new experience for me. I had co-written a little bit in the past, but this was the first time that I really had someone pulling stuff out of me that I didn't know existed. I would send him some drafts or voice memos or things that were going on, and he would kind of build a track based on samples and sounds I had sent him and ideas. But yeah, it really was an iterative, collaborative process to just get to the best level we could take it.
I'm hearing a lot of artists are collaborating that way with the voice memos, and people are in different countries on different continents. They're sending their files over, and I'm just fascinated by what's possible that was never possible in the past.
Oh, yeah, it's amazing. And in fact, I didn't live in LA when I started working with my producer, and so we were doing a lot of the song virtually. And then I did fly out, and once I flew out, I was like, I need to move here.
You never left.
And then I loved it. Yeah, so here I am. But it definitely opens the door when things are digital and remote, where you really don't have a lot of limits anymore to get into the music industry. It's kind of an open table for a lot of people now.
It's pretty exciting. I say this is like the era of the indie artist. You certainly have the possibility to get your music out to a huge, the limitless audience, but it's hard to break through. And how have you started that process to get to that next level?
Yeah, it's a lot of work that I don't think people realize behind the scenes. And even for me, before I really got into this, I didn't realize how much goes into it. I think for me, it's about building good, authentic connections. I know I'm saying authentic a lot, but
it's a good word.
Just real connections with people. And I'll be honest, I've had some experiences here in LA where I've had people and producers say things like, come work with us and we will, give you the world. We'll get you a record deal. We'll make you famous. And you just need to ask yourself if you're ready. And it's like, hold on a second. There's no such thing as an overnight success. I'm really grateful that I have kind of the experience and perspective to know that it doesn't work like that. So, my focus has really been on surrounding myself with good people, building a good team around me, and just trying to leverage those, more experienced and knowledgeable people. But also, staying true to myself, having really quality music and making sure that, what I want and my vision comes through as well.
Thank you for sharing that, and it's very important. We've had a lot of people who are quote-unquote overnight successes on the show, but it turns out they've been working for years to set that up, and they may have gotten lucky with a single or a playlist that put them in a place to get an award or something like that, but it's because they did the groundwork to get to that level. That's what people never see.
Oh, yeah. Even I think I was reading a story about Lil Nas X and Old Town Road, and there was this chart where they kind of laid out, like, from when he first released it to all of the promo he did, to then when he got Billy Ray Cyrus involved, and then it took off, where, you just hear his version with Billy Ray Cyrus and think, oh, this just happened yesterday. But he had been working his butt off to get things moving. And that's just one example where that's a pretty quick one. And most of the time, like, if you go to someone's Spotify, who they're an overnight success, typically have been releasing stuff for a while. That's kind of a good gut check to see where someone's at, is like, just go look at their Spotify and see what else they've released.
So knowing that your music's out there, your first single's out there doing really well, people are just still talking about it. What's coming up next?
Yeah, I'm so excited. I've been in the studio a lot. I moved here to California so I could be closer to my producer, and I have a few singles coming out. They haven't really been announced officially yet, but I'm really excited. I'll be releasing a lot more music that will eventually be rolling into my first EP. So stay tuned for those updates. I'll be sharing them on my socials, and I'm just really excited to keep giving more and keep connecting. It's really fun.
We're on Music Matters with Kel Adore, a rising star pop singer and songwriter, and we're delighted she can join us today. So tell us about the EP versus the single. We're certainly in a single society right now with the Spotify and the way that people listen to and consume music these days. Why produce EPs and albums in 2022?
I think that it's important to be, true to yourself as an artist and do what you want to do. I think any artist can have any strategy they would like. For me, I love the idea of having kind of a cohesive concept and theme that all works together, simply because I think that as a body of work as a whole, it can just be more powerful. And I love listening to albums. I love listening to EPs. I love thinking about, like, how they ordered them and why. And so I just don't think there are rules. And yes, the industry is leaning towards quick singles, immediate gratification. So it is a balance. But, if there were any other artists listening and I had to give advice, I would say just, do what feels true to you, and people will feel that, and that will resonate.
And there's other artists who are not letting people, I think it was Kelly Clarkson. We had one of Kelly Clarkson's proteges, a country singer, on the show yesterday. And we were talking about, the album concept. She was saying that, was it Kelly Clarkson or Adele? One of them had taken out the
either legend.
Yeah, I forget now, but yeah. It was something they took out the option to shuffle play, so it had to be listened to in sequence.
I think
that's really cool. It's Adele, that's right.
Yes,
I think that's really cool. I think there's definitely something to having a cohesive unit of songs that go in order, that maybe have a progression, or the keys are complementary. I mean, I'm a classical guy, so we like multi-movement symphonies and things like that. And they connect. There's like these connections. For me, I like that.
Yeah, and if you think about where music came from and the record players, I just got a record player a year ago for the first time, and you have to listen to it all the way through. So I think traditionally, musicians had to think about how did things move and flow, and it becomes an intricate process. So, I think there's an art to it, and I think it can be really beautiful. And if, you're willing to take that time to listen and notice those things, then the music will make a really big impact.
So why has vinyl come back with such a fury these days?
That's a good question.
I got to tell you, I had thousands of records, and I gave them all away, and thousands of them. And then my son comes back from a garage sale with a record player and hundreds of records, and I'm like, oh, we have Spotify.
I wonder, it's a good question, and I'm not a historian, so I can't answer this accurately maybe, but I do think that, as humans, we do kind of live in cycles, and there comes a point where when something becomes kind of retro, it becomes cool again. It becomes novel
like
again.
Bottoms.
And
I still don't understand that, but okay.
Seriously, but I think especially with records, because we are in this digital world where everything is kind of invisible, there's something to be said about peeling off the different, packaging and pulling it out and like feeling the music with your hands. Like it's another sense that sometimes we've been deprived of in the modern day because everything's just digital, online, and unseen.
One thing, from the classical point, or even from the rock and roll. I mean, I love the album art. That's kind of a lost world to me. It's like, man, I love the album art and some of the great albums, and we don't get that on Spotify, really. You can't get the lyrics as much on Spotify as well. That's something I really miss.
Oh yeah, and artists spend a lot of time and thought making these beautiful things. So I agree. Like there are times where I try to see album artwork in Spotify and I'm trying to make it bigger. I'm like, oh, I wish I could see this, but
it's frustrating.
Yeah, but I do think that there's a visual element with the packaging of old CDs and records that's still really beautiful.
I've also been really impressed with some of the bands and some of the artists who have been selling albums and signing them for their top fans, and it enables you to keep like this kind of personal connection to some of your people. So, any chance we may see you putting out an album someday?
Oh, absolutely. I already have so many different concepts. I mean, I have a little notebook where I just write out all these things. So I definitely see that in the future.
Excellent. And how long does it take you to put together something like this, like an EP or even your singles? What's the conception to release? What's like an idea of how long it takes to do that?
Oh yeah, that's a good question. I think every song is different. Some of the songs may be like 6 to 9 months, which is kind of a long time. But, in this day and age when you're going through different ideas and you're going through, back and forth digitally and making sure it's perfect and scheduling, it can take a lot of time. Whereas we've had other songs that have just come together pretty quickly and, we write it in a week and then another week you're laying down vocals and another week you're doing production and that could take like a month. So I know some people are very, very quick. I think for me, I'm a little bit more precious and it usually takes at least a few months to really work through a song.
That makes sense. I mean, you want to get it just right. And in the studio, how many hours, like when recording, take us backstage at the studio experience. What was it like putting your first single down, and describe the experience for us?
Yeah, so that was a fun one. And that was when I was, like I said, not living in LA at the time. So I flew out and we had 2 days back to back in the studio to record final vocals, to do finishing touches. And so we ended up, I couldn't even tell you how many hours we spent virtually, but in the actual final stages of recording, it was 2 long days back to back of just getting everything we needed. And being in the vocal booth and having my producer again kind of, coach me, but also getting that real-time feedback was really, really helpful.
How has that given you confidence for the next time you go in?
Oh, it definitely helps. I think the more you do it, the easier it becomes. I've also noticed there's some interesting things. So with another song that I've been working on, I was recording the pre-chorus, and the pre-chorus, I was just like, I don't know, the melody was kind of hard for me. I wasn't getting it. And then I went into the chorus feeling really defeated and just like, oh, like, why am I not getting this? So I did not do the chorus very well. But then I did the bridge and I loved the bridge. I felt like I just performed it really well, sang it very well. And then when I went into the final chorus, I was just like totally feeling so much better, a lot more free vocally, a lot more relaxed. And so, your mindset when you're in recording is really important. And I think it's important that when you're doing it, you have people around you that are going to help build you up, but also you have to know yourself. Hey, what's going to help me? There've been times where I'm like, maybe I should sit down. Like I'll tell my producer, hey, let me try this sitting down because I think I just need to relax, or, I just need to do a lap around the studio and then I'm good. So being in tune with yourself and surrounding yourself with people that can kind of bring out the storytelling and the emotions and that authentic performance, it's important.
It is important, and that getting to know yourself and a good producer to help you and find that you unlock your creative potential. It's so important. I think artists always have to have a team when you're in career. I think it's so important to have that team.
Yes, yeah. I think for a long time I thought I could do it all on my own because today it's digital. You can do everything yourself if you want to, but I don't think you can do everything well if you try to.
True.
So I had to learn that lesson the hard way, and now that I'm, surrounding myself with a good team, it's been great.
Describe what your team looks like. What are some of the different parts of that? I know there's PR, there's marketing, there's social media. How much do you do yourself, and how much do you work with other people on?
Yeah, so I mean, like all of those roles you mentioned, I do work with the team there. There's also the co-writers, producers. There's, I've worked with creative directors, people to help me kind of like figure out my vision and conceptualize things on set when you're doing album artwork or video shoots. So there's a lot of people that can get involved, but also, as an independent artist, you end up doing a lot of it yourself too. You end up doing a lot of, hours building your newsletter or figuring out what you want to do for your next song. So I would say I'm very highly involved, and as I realize how much there is to do, I can rely on my team to help with that as well.
I'm always amazed that how much work goes into being an artist, and that never ends. Now, you were an economics major, so you know that the hard work is by far the most important part of any career, right? I mean, so you learn that, but the arts, it just never ends. There's so much to do.
Yeah, it takes discipline, and it takes, like I tell my team all the time, like, give me deadlines. That will help me. Like I know what I need to do, but I need a deadline sometimes to just do it.
Those are good people to keep you on task. We all need
Yeah,
that.
yeah. So it's definitely, in creative fields, you've got to find ways to stay disciplined, and it is a long game, and that will really, really go a long way.
So now you also do modeling. I was reading your bio. So how does that fit in your artistic output?
Yeah, so I do freelance modeling, and I actually started it as a way because I just wanted a creative outlet, maybe to figure out a little bit more about, sharing more of myself. And I ended up loving it. In fact, for a little bit, it ended up kind of distracting me from my music because I was getting so excited that I was spending a lot more time modeling than working on my music. Now I've kind of shifted the other way, but it's still a really good way to connect with creative people, understand creative visions, and learn how to execute, learn how to deliver a concept, whether that's with your posing or your emotions or your face or whatever it is. It's just another layer of communication, is how I see modeling.
I've been fortunate to know a bunch of models, and I got to go backstage at Couture Fashion Week, a lot, at least 3 times. It was a blast because one of my friends would sing on that, and I would coach her, and she was also a model / opera singer. So we would go back there, and I would get to meet all the models. And they were such great people. They were a lot of fun, actually.
Oh, I won't say every, but most models that I have met are so sweet. I think that sometimes we get this idea of, oh, like, models are untouchable, but really, like, there are so many different types of modeling jobs. There's so many different people that are involved, and yeah, I would agree. It's a fun community.
And it takes also a lot of discipline too. Like, how long does a shoot go on typically? What's a typical shoot?
It depends. I think standard in the industry, you could have like a 6 to 8 hour shoot for a full day on set. But there's also some smaller gigs you can get that are hourly. And I would say, maybe you're on set for 2 to 3. But there's a lot of prep work that goes into it. You have to do your skincare routine, and you have to do your hair and makeup and get that done. And then you have to figure out wardrobe and sizing. And, there's a lot that goes on before you step in front of the camera.
Well, another artistic outlook, and I'm sure that's great for your onstage persona too. I'm sure that's really fantastic.
Yeah, it's definitely helped me be a little bit more aware of just my surroundings and how I communicate, not just with my music, but also with my body and my facials and all of that.
And how about social media? How do you use social media to advance your work? Social media can be such a positive thing, but it's also, in the wrong hands, can certainly be a negative thing. But how do you balance that out?
I am trying to view social media as just a way to connect with people. And, I think that I used to be more I used to have more of a negative relationship with social media because I was just consuming so much and not really creating. And since I've shifted my focus into creating and giving and connecting, I've just shifted to have a much more positive mindset with it because I see it as a way to make friends and connect with fans and just it's such a small glimpse, but it's definitely a really, really neat thing that we have access to these days.
Well, people certainly do want to back. They want to they want to get to know the artist in today's society a little more. They want to see like what you're thinking about and
Yeah.
these type of things. And I was looking on your Instagram. You have over 8,000 followers, so congratulations. Keep on building
Thank
that up there.
you.
It's just so wonderful to see like how artists are being creative and kind of using their platforms to advance their careers and also their things that they believe in.
Yeah, it's a really good way to just kind of share who you are and kind of share your life and behind the scenes. And I do feel really blessed for some of the opportunities I get and for living in LA. And so I was able to share. I went to a Dior pop-up event, and it was really fun to share that on my Instagram and just show people, hey, like, come enjoy this with me. This is a really cool thing, and I want to bring you into my world.
Very cool. I had an indie pop singer from Canada on the show last week, and she was saying she's got multiple marriage proposals. I'm like, we could all do without that, I'm sure, but there's always going to be some of those. What do you do when you get those type of kind of off the wall type of messages?
I'll usually just block some of those people.
Good.
I mean, it's like I want my social media to be a safe, healthy space, and if people have bad intentions, I'm just like, I don't need that. So
ignore, block. Good.
I've learned to just block. I mean, if there's someone who's like genuine and kind and they're just like sweet, then I wouldn't do that. But often if someone's messaging you out of the blue and doing something like that, they probably have poor intentions.
I would imagine. And some of my favorite online personalities, like Joe Rogan, for example, he would always say that because I never read the comments. He just does not read the comments. He doesn't want to read it. He doesn't want to. But I read all my comments, and I'm always, some of them are negative, so most of them are overwhelmingly positive because people tend to be very positive. But some people treat the online world as a chance to just say whatever they want that they'll probably never say if they were in person.
I think it comes down to having healthy boundaries, and that's something I've been learning a lot in my life recently and just, over the last few years is how do I implement healthy boundaries with social media and with relationships and with, my job or things in my career that I just need to have a night to myself and not be, doing something. So I think that healthy boundaries really help separate, okay, what is me, what is reflective of me, and what is reflective of someone having a bad day on the other side of the world.
Well, there's certainly some bad days happening on the other side of the world right now, right? We're all keep Ukraine in our thoughts and prayers. It's so brutal. I've worked with so many artists over there, and to see that type of to see my artistic colleagues who are like my friends at the opera houses are all out of work, and they're just it's just so sad to see that. But
yeah. I know it's heartbreaking. I have a friend actually who's a makeup artist, and she's from Ukraine. And I remember, I want to say it was a year and a half ago, she was doing my makeup for a shoot. And before any of this really broke out, she was telling me about all of just the crazy, horrible things that were going on even then in Ukraine, and her family's still there. So now seeing how things have escalated, I mean, it definitely is a really difficult time. And, I've been sending my prayers and my support, and just, I think we're all hoping to see a good outcome there.
What do you think artists' role are when we have challenges in the world? What's the artist's role in all that?
I know people have mixed opinions about this. Some people will be like, you're an artist. Like, what do you know about the world? But also, artists tour the world. Artists connect with the world. Artists see the world. And so not just the world, but the people of the world, that their fans are people in Ukraine or people, wherever. And I do think that artists have a responsibility and an opportunity to kind of use their voices for good and to bring awareness to things. And it's a really special kind of opportunity that we have in this influential spot. So I'm not saying like an artist says something and they can immediately change things, but I think that they can be a good voice for good.
The idea of music can move the hearts, and it can can give people comfort in some of the hardest times. There was a video of someone in the Ukraine whose apartment was bombed out. They were sitting and they were playing the piano for the last time before they left, and that was just one of the most striking images. Was this poor person? The windows are blown out, and the piano was half destroyed, but she was able to play something before she left her home. It's like, oh. But
wow.
But maybe the music you write or the music that puts out there can make someone's day a little better, and can be a comfort in the most challenging of times.
Yeah, I mean, I hope so, and I think there's a lot going on, and even in people's lives that we can and can't see. I have followers, like I said, just in different parts of the world, and I'll have them message me that something specific with the pandemic and something specific with their country and how their country is handling the pandemic. They didn't have access to vaccines, or they didn't have access to food. Like there are really tough things. And so I do try to be a positive force where I don't want to add one more negative thing into people's lives. Like I want to be something that they can look to and brings a smile on their face, even if I don't quite understand what their situation is.
Well, you're such a positive person, and you have such a beautiful outlook on things. I encourage more people to listen to your music and get out there and follow this great artist who's, I think, going to write some incredible music in the years to come.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited about what's to come, and I really do hope that it just helps people. I mean, I know music has helped me in so many things throughout my life. I know that it's very powerful, and so I do hope that my music can be that power for good too.
The COVID, you mentioned the COVID pandemic. What did you do during the COVID pandemic, and how did that manifest in your music that you're going to put out coming out in the next year or so?
Yeah. So honestly, I think COVID really was kind of an awakening for me of how I did want to be more serious about my music. I had started taking some steps, but I think COVID put a lot of things into perspective for a lot of people about what do we truly value and what do we truly want out of life. And during the pandemic is when I really started to kind of put my nose to the grindstone and started to really pursue things a lot more seriously, which led to the release of Fool for the Pain. So I, in some weird ways, I am grateful for the opportunities the pandemic provided. I'm also excited to move forward and hopefully, see things continuing to improve there.
Well, I want to thank you for joining us on Music Matters and wish you the continued success. Can't wait to hear what that next the EP and the singles will look like. And where can people go to find out more about Kel Adore, your music?
Yeah, thank you so much. You're welcome to follow me on my socials at Kellodor Music or just at Kellodor, depends on the platform. Seriously, send me a DM, say hi if you are here, tell me where you came from. I love DMing people, and I'll send voice memos and just talk to people. So please don't hesitate to say hi. Like, I want to know you. I want to have a relationship with you, and I want to connect. So thank you so much for having me. This was a really, really great conversation, and I love the questions you asked. So I really appreciate it.
Wish you nothing but continued success and can't wait to see you in live one of these days.
Thank you so much. You have a good one.
You too. Thank you for joining us on Music Matters with Jason Tramm. Please remember to subscribe to us on YouTube and smash that bell icon for the most up-to-date information on our upcoming guests and topics. Thank you so much for joining us, and remember, keep music alive.